In this part, we are going to start working with the first option here at the top right, which is set as private. And what this means is that whenever a user clicks this button, then the post is going to be visible only to them. And this option is going to show up only on the posts that a user has created. After the user has set this as private, it will be possible to set it back to public. The first thing to do in here is that we need to update the database to support this change. And other than that, we are going to create an action which we are going to use to toggle the visibility of a post. So in here, let us just go to the model, and that is the post model. Now here, depending on the visibility options that you want to support, like for example, if you want it to be public, if you want it to be private or friends only, then in that case you can use a string or you can use an enum. But in our case, the users have to be logged in to view the content, which means we have only two options: set it as private and set it as public. Since we have either one or the other, we can just use a Boolean property. So public bool is private, and then get set. We added a change to the model. What this means is that we need to also update the database, and that can be updated using a migration. So add migration, edit, post, and then is private flag. The reason why I use the is private is because the default value of a Boolean is false. And whenever a user creates a post, by default, I want it to be accessible by the other users as well. If the user decides that a specific post has to be private, then they can just click the option. Now let's just type update database. The change was added, so let us just go and verify. In the post, I'm just going to refresh it. If I open it, now we have is private. Let us go to the home controller, and we are going to create another action. Just copy this one and then just paste it down here. And as you can see, the actions so far just have like direct access to the database using the context file. And that is not a good practice. On the upcoming parts, I'm going to show you how you can use services to move the database logic from the controller to other files. In here, I'm just going to name it toggle post visibility. And then I'm just going to create a new VM, post visibility VM, and then add. This is going to have a single property. It's going to be public int post ID. And as I have said before, even though we have like multiple classes with the same property, we are just keeping them all for now. If we see that we are getting way too many classes that have just like the same property, we can fix it using multiple ways. One would be to just create a base class and put this property there. The other one would be to just create a single view model, name it post toggle VM, and then just use that view model in all the actions. For now, I'm just creating separate files. Let's just go here, change this to post visibility VM. And then down here, we are going to first get the post by ID. We don't need the logged in user. So just post, and then where ID is equal to the post visibility VM dot post ID. Now you can use the user ID in here if you want to also make sure that if somehow the user kind of like overrides the front end conditions, then you want to double check that the user that is sending the request is actually the user that has created the post. Then in that case, we can bring it back like logged in user ID is equal to 1, and then just add it in here. Is equal to the logged in user ID. And in here, since we always get like a single record, we are looking for a single record, we can also remove the where and simply use the first or default async at that level. Just like this, our code is simplified. Let me actually change this one as well. And then here, if the post is different from null, we want to toggle the visibility property, which is post.isPrivate. This is going to be the value of the isPrivate, but in reverse. So basically we are just toggling, or we are just changing the value of the isPrivate. Then down here, you can either use like await and then context, or you can just type something like await and context dot post dot update and then post. Let us remove the await and then save changes async. At the end, for now, we are just going to redirect to action index. Now this is all we need to do in the action. On the next part, you'll learn how to trigger this action. And this is similar to favorites, it's similar to likes, so if you want, you can also give it a try yourself. The solution is going to be on the next part.